Hi y'all, this is Larry from Deep South Texas, and today we're going to make this beautiful, healthy, multi-grain bread. We're using 7-grain cereal in our mix, and it turned out just wonderful. Let's see how I did it. And for my multi-grains, I'm going to be using Bob's Red Mill 7-grain hot cereal. Now, you can find this in the cereal section at your grocery store next to the oatmeal. It's fairly common here in the U.S. Now, making this multi-grain bread is a little bit different than the normal practice for making bread. First, we need to sort of cook our multi-grain cereal. And we do that by putting half a cup into our mixing bowl, and we add 2 cups of boiling water. We mix that around a little bit, and then we just let that set until the water and grain cool down to a temperature that we can add the yeast. And that'll be about 110 degrees Fahrenheit. Basically, put your finger in. It needs to be warm, but if it's so hot you want to pull your finger out, it's not cool enough yet. So we'll let that set. It'll take about a half an hour. This is somewhat different than the normal bread making process, but it makes wonderful bread. So it's been a half an hour, and my mixture here has cooled down. So we're going to add 1 tablespoon of instant yeast. And we're going to shake that on the top. And we're going to let that set for just a couple minutes until the yeast gets hydrated. So most of the yeast is hydrated now. Let's just stir that in. And start adding some of our other ingredients. So we have 1 tablespoon of honey. We have 2 tablespoons of melted butter. It's also cooled down now. Two teaspoons of salt. And we'll get this all mixed up. And then we'll start adding our flour. So I'm using all-purpose flour. There'll be 3½ cups altogether. We're going to start adding it a little bit at a time here. Get this all stirred in till it's smooth. That's looking pretty good. So let's just continue adding the rest of our 3½ cups of flour and get that all mixed together. Now I'll probably have to get my fingers into this before I'm done, but we'll get that flour mixed in. We'll come back and take a look at it. There, that's all roughly mixed together. Now we're just going to cover the bowl with a little plastic wrap and let that dough rest for 15 minutes until give a chance for the flour we just added to get hydrated. Then we're going to come back and knead the bread. Our dough has rested, and it's now time to knead it. Let's get it out of the bowl onto our breadboard here and just begin kneading it. If it feels a little bit too sticky, we're going to add a little bit of flour, but we're going to try to add as little flour as possible at this point. Feels pretty good, not real sticky. Usually when I'm kneading, it starts out okay, and then it'll get a little stickier as you knead it, and then when you get close to the time when you're done kneading, it's not quite so sticky anymore. So this feels pretty good. And just gentle kneading for about 8 minutes. Again, if your dough is a little stickier than this, you can go ahead and add a little bit of flour, but just the least amount possible. I have a scraper here I'll use from time to time to scrape up anything that's been sticking to the board, but this is feeling pretty good. In 8 minutes, we'll come back when our 8 minutes of kneading is done. So the kneading is done and the dough feels pretty good. Now we're going to put it back into our mixing bowl, which I have cleaned up a little bit, and put some butter on so the dough doesn't stick. And we're going to cover this again with our plastic wrap. And we're going to let this set to rise for 1 hour. Well, our dough has risen. Let's get it out of the bowl onto the bread board, and we'll put just a very small amount of flour down here. There we go. Degas it here a little bit. And then we'll do a pre-shape. It's basically going to shape this up into a ball first. There we go, and we'll cover that with our plastic wrap and let it rest for another 5 minutes. All right, our dough has rested a little bit, and we do that just to let the gluten relax a little bit. Pick it up. Another very small dusting of flour. And we're going to spread that out into a ball again, or into a disc again, going for our final shaping. And we're going to put this in a loaf pan, and this loaf pan is 9.5 inches long, it's 5.5 inches wide, and 3 inches deep. We're going to flatten this out, and then we're going to roll it up to a size that will fit in that loaf pan. Okay, so we're going to first shape this into a sort of a trapezoid shape that's a little shorter on the top than it is on the bottom. And what we want is the bottom to be about the size of this loaf pan. Just barely off camera here. A little bit wider here at the bottom. Looks about right. Now we're going to start at the top and start rolling down, pinching it in real good as we go. Pinch that together. Yeah, I think that's going to fit. Now, a little bit more flour. Flour the whole loaf and the ends. And then we're going to put that in the loaf pan, seam side down. And it almost fits. We're going to cover that with our plastic wrap again. First I want to get a little flour on the plastic wrap in case I don't want it to stick. We're going to cover that bread and let it rise, 40 minutes to an hour. Well, our bread has risen. It's time to get this in the oven. Now, I did butter this pan before I put the dough in. I think I forgot to mention that. Now the oven has been preheated to 425 degrees Fahrenheit. We're going to put this in and bake it for about 40 minutes. Now, I'm going to start checking it at 35 to see if I think it looks done, but that's the plan. So off to the oven it goes. Okay. The bread is out of the oven. It was in the oven the full 40 minutes. And man, it looks wonderful and it smells wonderful. Let's get this out on a cooling rack and let it cool down. So our bread is cooled down and it's time to cut it and see what it looks like. There, it looks pretty nice. Looks pretty nice. A great loaf of healthy multi-grain bread. Let's taste some. Okay, a little butter. This bread has a little texture to it that's a little bit different than your normal homemade bread, but it's pretty good. There it is. Let's give it a try. Very good. Well worth putting in your recipe box and giving it a try. It also toasts really good. So hope you enjoyed this video. If you did, please give it that thumbs up. Thanks for watching. We'll see you again next time.